It's Beyond the Bell here from the OVO Arena in Wembley. Katie Taylor once again shows that she probably is one of the best female fighters we've ever seen. I say probably because there's a certain Clarissa Shields out there who says she's the GOAT and is the #1. That's a debate we might have as well. Mike Costello, Barry Jones. Mike, I want to start with you. Me and Barry were ringside and we're like, it wasn't sort of the best Katie Taylor performance, very similar to the ones that we've seen against Jennifer Han and Sharapova. What did you make of her performance?
Yeah, very similar, as you say. And I think we're learning all the time that Katie Taylor is somebody who rises to the occasion and does enough to win. And that's what she did tonight. I don't think there was any stage in the fight where you thought that it was going to go against her.
Yeah.
And I think when you have the kind of atmosphere that you have tonight and that raucous ring walk and how you almost feel the arena's shaking, you sometimes expect some fireworks in the ring as well. But if you look at her history of world title fights, that was number 16 tonight. 14 have now gone the distance. That's what happens on a Katie Taylor night. That's what happens in a lot of world championship boxing in the women's game. You find, and I said in commentary, that the opponents, even if they are, I wouldn't say Carabajal was outclassed tonight, but certainly outgunned, they are resilient and they are very, very courageous. And we've seen that across the women's game, across the weights. And I think that was the case there tonight. She kept pressing forward, Carabajal, but kept getting picked off by Katie Taylor. Had she produced more, Katie Taylor, for me, would also have produced more.
I always find it difficult to gauge Katie Taylor with those type of opponents because we don't know too much about them. We knew very little about Carabajal before she came in. Does she sort of raise her game depending upon the level of opponent? Because when you see her in against Amanda Serrano, it's completely different from that.
Yes, she does, but I would also say that, no, you can't go on forever. And no, the level she has been at, and sometimes that maybe that Serrano fight was her last great effort of excellence. You know, I'm not saying that, but potentially that could be what it is. What I would say is that because she knew she was better than this girl, on paper, you looked at them, and it was clear to us all that just because you're better don't mean you can walk through somebody. And I think she tried to knock it out quite early and maybe gone into a little bit of a wrong rhythm, and then had to adjust in the ring, and it makes it a little more difficult. So she looked a little bit flat to me, maybe.
Yeah,
but still got the job done, and that is a sign of a quality fighter. When they're not performing, firing on all cylinders, they still can produce the goods. And she looked tired from like round 2 on, to be honest, did Katie Taylor, but she still has that natural engine where she can just push herself through the wall. Yeah. And then fire those combinations in the later rounds when her opponent can't do that.
Yeah, she clearly has a few gears that she can go up that obviously Carabajal couldn't go up. You heard me speak to her after saying, look, Croke Park, that's what she wants, 80,000. She's desperate for that as well. Can that happen next? I mean, we wait and see if we can go over to Ireland and fight. But if it is Croke Park, it has to be Amanda Serrano, doesn't it? That's the only sort of opponent.
And that will be monumental. As big as we know Madison Square Garden was, and of course, because of the history of the place, that made it all the more special. But for her to go home for the first time in her professional career, and look, I'm from an Irish family. I know what Croke Park means in Irish sport. This will be absolutely monumental. And they've been starved of professional boxing. They've been starved of Katie Taylor in a home ring. I don't think you can measure how big this will turn out to be. And Eddie Hearn there, in the same interview, was seemingly adamant that it will be next. Whether it's Amanda Serrano or not, it will be next. And look, we've got Abu Dhabi next week, and if Chantel Cameron manages to beat Jessica McCaskill and holds all 4 of those belts at super lightweight, it's ready-made. Yeah. You know, they've been rivals since the amateur days. It's ready-made for that fight over at Croke Park.
I think we saw here tonight, you know, that how loud and how much you can fill an arena with an opponent nobody knows. So you take that over to Ireland, where, like you said, they've been starved of professional boxing for such a long time. Who else but to go there? Whoever it's against, it would be a great occasion, and it might not sell out totally, but it would sell loads of tickets. But Serrano, they wouldn't have enough tickets.
You know what
they literally wouldn't. You couldn't get enough. They would be. I just don't know how they do. They couldn't find a place big enough. No,
they certainly couldn't. There's part of me though. Look, we were all at MSG, and it was sensational, right? It was half Irish, half Puerto Rican, and I almost feel like for Serrano to come over, and look, she'll come over, obviously she will. It'll almost be unfair. It'll be 99.9% Irish, and maybe just her and her corner will be the Puerto Ricans there. So, look, fingers crossed it happens, but I wouldn't mind it going to MSG once again. I'll be honest with you, I wouldn't mind.
That atmosphere in MSG.
It was
and I've been to
sensational.
some major fights in the last 10 years. That was one of the best I've ever had. And a unique, as you said, it's a unique atmosphere because any other big occasion, Joshua, Canelo, it's all Canelo.
Yeah.
This, was, like you said, was 50-50. And by the way, and you were there, of course, at the weigh-in, she was outdone.
She was that done.
The
at
Irish
the
were
weigh-in.
outdone by the Puerto Ricans.
She was that done.
And
then they turned up, though.
But early in the night as well, because a lot of Puerto Ricans stood up earlier than the Irish,
Yeah.
and they thought, hang on, they're going to outdo them in the on the night. But then, of course, the Irish emptied the pubs.
The pubs
and they pulled in.
emptied, got the drinks down them, and
But you're right
it was
about that conflict of atmosphere. We've
works
seen
better,
it
doesn't
here
it?
with
Conlon,
Carl
Conlon,
Fratson, Conlon, Leewood.
It's-
Amazing
It
atmosphere.
works better when it's almost a split 50-50. It's a good undercard action as well. Let's talk about the co-main event. It was always going to be tough, I thought, for Jordan Gill. Kiko Martinez is that gatekeeper you have to go through if you want to be world level. And I guess tonight showed that maybe Jordan Gill lacks something to get to that world level.
Yeah, Jordan Gill's a lovely boxer, moves really well. But maybe there are scars still from the Guerfi fight. You
Yeah.
have to feel that. That it was a grueling affair, and he was almost out on his feet when he got a sensational finish. But maybe he needed a few warmer fights again. I don't know. But being a European champion, you've got no choice but to take that fight. Martinez is one of those fights on paper you always have to bet against him because how long can he go on?
Yeah.
I remember saying in about 2015, he's probably past his sell-by date. And here he is now, as you've mentioned, Mike, on commentary, evergreen, and just producing like before.
I
And
remember,
he's
I
such a
remember
big
when he
puncher.
fought the bin man, Rendell Monroe, in,
Yeah.
2008?
Well, you must be about 6. But he's such a big puncher that when he never rushes his work because he knows if he's hurt you, you haven't got to panic and rush and get all over you. The next shot's just going to... Once he got you hurt, he knows it's just a matter of time. And that's what it was tonight, unfortunately, for Jordan Gill. Once he got hurt, it just felt inevitable then he was going to get stopped. And it's a pity because he's a lovely boxer.
And I have to say, I was surprised, Barry, by the speed at which he unravelled.
Yes.
After a shot that was picked up by Darren Barker, and very quickly Jordan went onto the back foot, then took some heavy shots and went down and jumped up, went down and jumped up. That was the natural reaction. That was the natural...
That's residue from the last fight, that is, Mike.
From the last fight. And I just wonder whether that last fight has left him, as you say, permanently scarred, permanently debilitated, and in a sense left a mark that he can't recover from.
Maybe, I'm horrible to say probably, which is a shame because he was boxing so well. I thought his movement was brilliant. He wasn't being too greedy with his attacks. But Kiko likes to get outboxed. He almost lures you into a sense of confidence before he hits you with a big shot.
He certainly does. The atmosphere here was half critical because of Katie Taylor, but I guess the majority of the fans here were for a certain Bosch from Romford, Johnny Fisher. It's crazy, isn't it, that he does that? What's he, 7 fights in? And he's brought nearly 2,500 with him from Romford, not too far from Wembley, but still, regardless, they travel for him. It's going to be good to see what happens next with his development in the next sort of 12, 18 months, isn't it?
Yeah, well, it's a division which is getting pretty tasty in the UK, but there will be gaps. If he waits a little bit longer, there'll be some gaps there that he can sneak into. He's looking good. He's still a bit crude. He's a work in progress. But if I was a promoter, I'd put him on every show. Every single show you'd be on, because the atmosphere, the tickets he sells, the atmosphere that he produces, is just fantastic for TV.
No, it certainly is. Mike, really appreciate it, Mike Costello, Barry Jones, thank you very much as well. Katie Taylor remains the undisputed lightweight champion. Fingers crossed it is that big fight at Croke Park next for her. Amanda Serrano, Alicia Baumgardner, Chantal Cameron, so many opponents possibly up next for her. Up next for us, though, we're going to Abu Dhabi. We are going to Abu Dhabi. A big card as well. Dimitri Bivol versus Gabilto Ramirez. Chantal Cameron versus Jessica McCaskill. Zelfa Barrett versus Rakimov. More and more. Big fights keep coming on DAZN.